All right. Santiment social metrics can paint a pretty nice picture in terms of what the crowd believes is going to happen next. And the longer you've been in crypto yourself, the more you've likely figured out that the crowd typically gets it wrong. And because crypto is such a sentiment driven sector compared to equities, for example, that have companies, debt to equities ratio and PE ratios, all sorts of things that actually create real world value. It's much different from that here in crypto. So, sentiment related metrics and social metrics are going to be key to help us figure out where prices will go next, when this bear market will end. And we'll jump on a few really quickly here. Beginning on our trends page, this is our Santiment Lab Trends countdown where we can look at the top 10 most trending words here. It's a whole lot of different contests and various uh, wallet type of activity going on here to end the weekend. But I wanted to look at a few of the more common trends, especially the interest in buying the dip, because as we know, the dip has essentially been going on, depending on how zoomed out you want to look at it, for the last 7 months, going back to mid-November, when we started retracing from Bitcoin's all-time high and the majority of other assets all-time high. We can see here there was a big interest in buying the dip, especially right here when we had a big one around May 11th, May 12th, and we had a short-term one followed by a little bit of a retracement. Notice how people started getting very disinterested in buying the dip here, and that's when we actually had that opportunity to buy the dip. It stayed low, nothing really changed. There was a lack of interest here. Obviously, this was between the second and third FOMC announcement on the interest rates and hiking them, so that had a lot to do with it as well, with prices going down despite sentiment really factoring in. And then ever since, look at how many people have been very interested in buying the dip. And we did have one major one right here. And really, we've started to see a decline in interest, and that's generally a good thing and a good sign that prices can rise again because people are starting to give up hope and they're doing what's known as capitulation. So that's a quick segment on buying the dip. We can also see sort of the other end of the spectrum, the interest in shorting, and that's also going down right now. So that can be a sign that people want to bet against the markets a little bit less. You can even compare it to the word long, and we will use the same excuse me, the same axis, and see that long tends to always go a bit above, and both are declining right now. Another way of looking at sentiment would be actually understanding how many transactions are happening in profit versus in a loss. And right now, there's a lot more profit than there is loss for the first time in quite a while. The pink here is Ethereum. That's at its highest in about 2 months. Bitcoin is at its highest in also about 2 months, the same week, but they're not nearly as high as we saw here. And those typically are the marks of local tops here and even here. We'd rather see these negative, and that's right here at the end of the week of June 8th. That was essentially marking the bottom, give or take a couple days. So that's kind of what we'd want to see there. And then finally, a few quick turbo metrics to introduce you to. MVRV is the average trading returns of 30-day, any trading going on over the past 30 days. When it gets below these lines, negative 15% or below, that's a sign that the crowd is really in a lot of pain, and those are usually golden times to buy. You can see here it really marked the bottom well. And right now it's still below 0%, so it is above this super big opportunity line that we regard heavily at Santiment, but it is below 0%. So in a vacuum, this is historically a slightly better time than usual to be in Bitcoin based on the amount of risk you have. Another metric we can look at is weighted sentiment. So this is maybe the most true to form metric related to sentiment, and we measure the amount of volume related to Bitcoin multiplied by the ratio of positive versus negative commentary toward Bitcoin on Reddit, Telegram, Twitter, and Discord in terms of public rooms that we can track. Right now, It's been mostly all negative. We saw last week after the bottom hit, it started to get a little more neutral, and now it's right back toward very negative because of the fact that prices have stagnated a bit and not really moved up much in the past 3 to 5 days or so. Um, and then last but not least, we have social volume and dominance. This pink line here shows the percentage of discussion related to Bitcoin versus the other assets within the top 100 market cap. And when things get high, that's generally a sign of a healthy viewpoint toward Bitcoin. When dominance toward Bitcoin goes low, it means there's a little bit too much euphoria and obsession over coins that don't really move the markets the way that Bitcoin does. And you can see similarly these social volume bars, they're moving up and down. You can see that people started to get more interested in talking about Bitcoin after the plummet because it became a national headline once again for the fact that the market cap had retraced as much as it has. I think just under 70% since the all-time high is what it got down to at one point. Um, so yeah, volume is back down now. Along with dominance, it's starting to decline a little. If we keep things, if the dominance stays up around or above 20%, that's generally what we like to see as a healthy market. But the jury's out right now. We're going to have to keep watching as we head into July here. And I hope this was helpful.